Welcome to Next Steps, a podcast from Blackhawk Church. We believe that following Jesus is a lifelong journey. So no matter where you're at, there's always a next step to take. Each week on this podcast, we'll create space for real conversations about the questions we wrestle with, the challenges we face, and the hope we find in Jesus. Our goal isn't to have it all perfectly figured out, but to walk faithfully towards Jesus together. We're so glad you're joining us. Let's dive in.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Next Steps podcast. I am here with a couple of people who haven't been, one person who hasn't been on for a while, one who I think this is their first time. So Pastor Matt Metzger is here with us today, as well as Pastor Joel Hassenzahl. And today we are kicking off a 3-part series that we're really excited about. It's all about being an outward-facing church and the idea of invite culture. And so this first episode is going to kind of give some vision about who we want to be as a church community. Next week, Pastor Daniel and Pastor Chris Kopp are on with one of our leaders of Alpha, JP Harris, where they're talking all about Alpha and how that fits into the environment and what we're trying to do here at Blackhawk. And then finally, Matt and Pastor Adam will be on here talking about how to share our story when God opens up the opportunity for us to be able to share our faith with people in our lives. So welcome, you guys.
Fantastic to be here.
Tiff, thanks for having me back.
Yes,
really appreciate it. Getting another invite.
Yes.
So thanks so much.
She doesn't give those out easy.
I know, seriously.
You've been here at least. I've never done it.
This is true. This is true.
Totally.
But it's been a while.
Yeah, so glad to have you. Joel, you're your first time. Some people,
First
I mean,
timer.
I think you are one of the people who's worked here the longest, but some people may not know you.
Yeah.
So tell us a little about who you are.
Hey, I'm Joel Hassenzahl. I've been on staff since 2002, working full-time on staff.
Were you like 10? Or?
I was, 9.
Yeah.
It was a weird role, but it worked. Married to my wife, Holly. We've been married for 22 years, coming up this summer. We have 4 kids that are 13 to 7, Mara, Artie, Jojo, and Frankie. And my role here is pastor of Sunday Experience and Communications World. So Sunday Experience is kind of all the teams that make Sundays and large events happen, like worship, tech, production teams that way. And then coaching with the communications team and all the world of emails and websites and things like that, even podcasts and things like this that we help to make sure happen. So
Okay, so fun story.
Yes, I'm here for this.
About Joel. So my first Sunday that I was on staff at Blackhawk back, I think this was like end of August, beginning of September in the year 2000. And my first Sunday there, I was in a back then Sunday school class that we had, and I sat down. It was called Jars of Clay.
Yes.
The old 1990s band. We're playing off of that.
Some
back
of you
at that
young
time.
people need to look that
That's
up. You have no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah, listen to that on
Good
Spotify.
stuff.
Pull up Jars of Clay. So, and I sat down in this class and sat down next to Joel Hassenzahl, his first Sunday at Blackhawk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
And
you were,
then
how old were you? Again,
I mean,
7,
I'm a grad
right,
student,
Good,
21 grad
just
student.
Just out of at UW.
Yeah, just started at UW. And then we had to draw. As an icebreaker, we drew license plates that represented our lives.
Yes, it was really special. I still have mine. Actually, I don't.
No.
So, because Joel and I both looked at each other like, what
is happening right now?
This was like my 3rd day on staff. I had nothing to do with the class. This was like not my idea, like for first week I was teaching or anything. And we're sitting there and we're like, hey, we're drawing license plates.
And if you're listening and you were part of Jars of Clay, we want to hear from you.
Yes.
So
and if you still have your license
if you have some memories from Jars of Clay, that class that happened way back then.
Totally.
Hit us up.
You guys, so
But Joel and I, we live close to each other now. Rachel and I, we just moved to Middleton not long ago. And so I literally looked out my front window the other day. Like I'm inside doing stuff. I look out my front window. I'm like, why are there 4 kids tackling each other in my yard? And then looked out. I was like, it's the Hassenzahl kids. All walking downtown.
You know where they are. You hear them before you see them.
So funny. I love that.
It's the best. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you guys, so fun.
It was good.
So fun.
Okay, so what are we doing here?
Yes. Okay. So good. Well, Joel, again, thanks for being here. Super glad that you're on here. Okay. So let's talk about invite culture. So when that's something that we talk about here on our staff team. That's not something we always kind of talk about church-wide. So when we talk about invite culture here on our staff team, what are we talking about?
Yeah, when I think about the idea of invite culture and the way that that fits in the church world, we're talking about trying to create environments where for anyone within our church at any time, they feel like I can invite somebody regardless of where they're at on their spiritual journey and feel like they can come and they are going to feel seen and appreciated.
Mm.
So in other words, you don't have to be a Christ follower who knows the names of all the books of the Bible. You don't have to be a person who feels like they have it all together in life. That it doesn't matter if a person is close with Jesus, has walked away from Jesus, has never thought about Jesus, but they can come through the doors and feel like you're going to be in an environment where you might not understand everything, but you're going to be valued. You're going to be welcomed. You're going to be seen. You're not going to feel crazy uncomfortable walking through the doors.
Yeah.
I think that for all of us, we've been in situations where we've been in environments and it has not been inviting.
Yeah.
And just
Nothing like getting told to stand up your first Sunday somewhere. Like, would you stand up if you're visiting us today? We've got a pen for you.
that is the best.
Yeah, it's
yes,
so good.
totally. I
They
think we
are
should try that.
seen, maybe not comfortable.
They are seen, but not necessarily comfortable. So,
Totally. I mean, I think that for so many of us, like you can think of a time where you've shown up at a party or a gathering or something that you were sort of, quote unquote, invited to. You show up and you don't know anyone and you're kind of getting weird looks from people and no one's really talking to you and you feel isolated and like an outsider and like you're just looking for the next door to be able to get out to leave. And I think that for plenty of people, when they come to church for the first time, that's the type of experience they can have. And so what we're trying to do is a completely counterculture picture to that type of an experience where for anyone coming through the doors, they feel like, man, they were expecting that I was going to show up and are doing what they can to make me feel comfortable.
It's good. And I think oftentimes, like for many of us, we have been a part of a church community, whether when we were smaller or, as an adult. And so I think we forget sometimes what it feels like to be new somewhere, or even sometimes how weird church is for somebody who has never experienced it, especially in a culture maybe like Madison, where they didn't grow up in church, right? We're a little more post-Christian, slightly more post-Christian.
Yes.
And so to be able to be able to look at everything we do through those set of eyes can actually, one, be challenging for those of us who haven't thought through that for a really long time or experienced that. But two, just being able to move towards that and create the environments.
Full on. I remember when I was back in college and I had come home for the summer and was I was actually working as an intern at this particular church. And there was a buddy of mine who I surfed with all the time, and I invited him to come to church with me. And it was the first time I remember having an experience where this guy is sitting next to me and realizing how many things that we did within church that just felt weird.
So weird.
Like when else do you use the word brethren? Like all kinds of different things like that and even stand up, sit down, all the different things that you do.
Communion is creepy if you look at it through, I'm going to drink this juice that is symbolized as somebody's blood.
Yes.
It's fine.
And if you do this in the wrong way, you drink damnation upon your soul, which is something that they said from the front. And I'm going, this has to be so awkward. But I didn't notice any of those things until I had my friend sitting next to me that I knew didn't know Jesus and was seeing everything through their eyes. I mean, y'all, I'm telling you, if you want to see it differently, bring someone with you to church. And even at a church like Blackhawk, that tries to create a welcoming culture, inviting culture, you will sit there and you will see things completely differently through the eyes of somebody who you have coming with you who you might not know where they're at spiritually.
So true.
Yeah. It's interesting because every fall we do the survey for our entire congregation, like, hey, how did you first hear about Blackhawk? And almost every year, as far as I know, every year, top of the list or top one or two is that somebody I knew, told me about Blackhawk or invited me. So you have all these ways of like, we can get people on a website, or we can, they might have, saw an ad in the newspaper at Christmas or something. Whoever's getting newspapers still, like that might have been a way, but predominantly what you hear And what ends up in almost all of our stories is somebody invited me to Blackhawk. You know, before I came to Madison, I met somebody through Young Life Ministry out in Wyoming doing a backpacking trip who was like, hey, when you get back to Madison, look me up. You know, I go to school there. When I did, he was like, hey, you got to come check out this church with me, Blackhawk. That's how I got to Blackhawk.
Wow,
you know, it was a personal invite from somebody that I met and got to know.
Yeah.
And I feel like that tends to be, you know, top one or two, you know, reasons why people end up at Blackhawk.
Yeah.
And so we want to create that kind of place where you can feel confident. I think something that was impressed on me long ago was, would you feel confident to invite that friend? Or would you go, oh, I'm a little nervous about what you're going to get because of all the brethrens we say, or because of all the stand-up, sit down, or because we don't explain anything. You got to try and figure it out, or
what are we going to preach on?
Yeah. And so are you, you know, as a person inviting a friend or a neighbor or coworker, would you feel comfortable doing that? Or would you have a bunch of things you're going to apologize for beforehand? And we want to be a church where you don't feel like you have to apologize for a bunch of things beforehand. You can confidently go, hey, you have something going on in your life, and I want you to know that, like, Jesus has changed mine in a huge way in that area. And I want you to experience that, and I want you to come check it out. And I think ideally for us, we go, hey, come sit with me. Like, I'll be at church at this time, or I'll even come to a time that works for you. Like, let me know. Can I sit with you? Like, I just want you to come and experience that. I want you to hear the story of, like, who Jesus is and what that has meant to us, to our community, to the people who are there. Because I want that for you, and I want you to experience that. And so, but to not feel like, but I'm going to have to also give you a whole bunch of caveats of, like, oh, but overlook this, and don't think about that, don't worry about this. Like, I'll try and coach you through that. Like, we try and explain things. We try to make it accessible for the person who might be in that boat, because it is uncomfortable and it is hard. Where in our culture do you get together with other people and sing? That's a thing that's not common like it used to be even 50 years ago.
Yes.
And so there's very few places where that is happening. And so this is one of them. And you kind of go, oh boy, that's weird. Like, ooh, and some of those songs can be weird. And so it's like, even just helping people know, like, you know, this is the type of community, this is what we believe, but also that we want it to be accessible and easy to step into.
Yeah. That's exactly it. And with doing that, I think one of the things to make sure that we're clear on is that we don't want to be a place that dumbs down a message. Sometimes churches can get accused of, because of being so welcoming, having such an inviting culture, that they're dumbing down the message. I actually don't think that's the goal of what should take place in a service like that. You know, I mean, when you think about it, people who come through the doors, they're coming because they're interested. Even though they were invited, there's some level of interest that they have at coming through the doors, and they want to see who we really are. And so the goal isn't to try to create some type of different environment that's different. We're different from who we are, you know, when the doors are shut and people aren't like that. No, it's allowing people into the world of what we honestly do, of how we pray together, of how we look at scripture and the depth that we take it. But it's just being able to have those conversations with those people, being aware that they're in the room and explaining things along the way. Like, I think about when my daughters were growing up, and we just had like certain traditions and things like that we would do around the dinner table together. And if one of their friends from school came over, we wouldn't act differently around the table. We would just invite them into our world, but making sure that they understood, like, hey, this is what we do around the table, and here's why. Jump in with us. And there was a difference to that. It's not trying to create a culture where you act differently in front of a group of people because they're there. No, you invite them into what's already taking place, but making sure they understand what it is you're doing and why it is that you're doing it. And that's the reason why a lot of times, like when we're opening the Bible, we'll talk about a book of the Bible and where it's found and what page it can be on. And is it in the Old Testament or New Testament, and some of the background that's taking place. We're doing that not because we're dumbing down, because we know there are a lot of people in the room who know it, but we know there are people there who we're trying to make sure they feel like they are wanted and valued in the room, not knowing that information.
Super good. Super good.
Yeah. And a lot of times kids are like the best at this. Like, you know, kids inviting their friends ends up, you know, being a big reason why some families choose to come, because kids are pretty unashamed, unabashed to just be like, I love my church. I want you to come with me. Come be in my small group room, or come be in my, you know, whatever room. And they're good at it. And so we see a lot of families who end up coming because their son or daughter was invited by a friend from school or a friend from a sports team or whatever it might be.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? A statistic that I heard not long ago was, and I can't remember if this was Barna research. I think it was Barna, but I'm not positive. But they showed a statistic that they realized that I think the number was 80% of people who would say yes to an invite to church if people invited them into a meal afterwards. Wow. So that you invite somebody to church and out for coffee afterwards, there's an 80% chance that those people actually are going to come with you. That's unbelievable.
That's unbelievable.
That's an unbelievable.
8 out of every 10 of your non-Christian friends would say yes.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And so, but you think about that. So let's say that that's true. When they show up with you, what do you want the experience to be? And I'm not just talking about what happens in the service. How do you want it to be for them as they're parking? What do you want them to feel as they're walking through the doors? If they have kids, how do you want it to feel as they're dropping off their kids and getting them set up into whatever class they're going to go into? What do you want the coffee to taste like? You know, that they're grabbing. What do you want the experiences to be in the atrium or before they go in? How do you want somebody to do announcements from the front? What do you want the service to feel like altogether? What do you want whoever's preaching, me or Charles or Chris or Lynn or whoever, how do you want that to feel? Again, it's just a different lens that you start when all of a sudden you begin to actually start inviting.
Mm-hmm. Like you said at the beginning, it really does change it immediately when you've got that person sitting in the row with you. Like there's 100%. Just nothing that brings it so acutely to your mind as when that's happening. And so I can remember a time where, a friend of ours was coming and it was like, oh, we're doing that this week. Okay, I got to think about that.
Yeah.
And like the whole time you just kind of go, I wonder what they're thinking about this.
Yep.
I wonder what they're thinking about that.
Yep.
Like when you look at it from, outside looking in, it definitely has moments where you're like, okay, this is interesting. Yep. I hope it's a good experience.
Yep.
And you can unpack that afterwards. That's what the coffee or the meal or whatever is afterwards, to get to unpack. What was that experience like? Have you done that before? When was the last time you were in a church? Like, what's that experience?
Yeah, I remember not long ago, I had 3 college students who showed up for the first time that were sitting with me and Rachel at a service, and Charles was on. And I remember as he's getting ready to get up and speak, I'm just thinking in the back of my mind, like, come on, Charles, you've got this. You can pull this off. Don't say anything.
Weird.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and he did great, I mean, but because it creates a different framework. But that's the framework that we're trying to think of every single week that we're putting on a Sunday service, is thinking about it with the idea that there are going to be people who were invited in the room every single time. And if we don't do that, we are going to have this natural pull to make services just about us, to where all of a sudden they're just about Christian people. They're just about all of us who we know who have come to a place placing our faith in Jesus. And so we are a part of the church community and doing it just for us. And if we do that, we miss what it actually is that we're called to be as Christ followers, continuing to strive to reach people in our life who don't know Jesus.
That's great.
And that all stems back from our mission statement, building a loving community that follows Christ. That's that part of the people who are following Jesus, who are here, who know the rules, who know the way the game goes, who knows what services are like. But if you stay there, then you miss the other half. And the other half is about reaching the community who's lost without him. And I think that's what we think about as we think about what does it mean for our people to go? And I think we're going to get to some of that too, of like, what does it look like for our community to go and be the kind of people who are out in our community with our friends, with our neighbors, with our coworkers, who are just helping people, understand, like, this is what Jesus has done in my life. I don't know what he might do in yours, but like, you're going through something tough right now. I'd love for you to consider, or, come with me or be part of that. But you miss that other half. If you become about yourself and you become insular, you miss the chance or the opportunity to reach the world that desperately needs Jesus and needs the truth of his love.
Yep. So I love, Joel, that you just brought that up, because in the long version of our mission statement, it's building a loving community that follows Christ in order to reach a community that's lost without him. The big play in our mission statement are those words, in order to. In order to. We're building a loving community that follows Christ in order to reach a community who is lost without him. You can't have one without the other. But the place that we're naturally going to gravitate towards is just making it about us. But we do what we do with us, becoming this amazing, loving community who loves each other, encourages each other, accepts each other, is in each other's corner in order to reach a community of people who don't know Jesus, who are lost without him. And we all have those people in our lives. And when we know we have a place that we can invite them to, we all know the situations and stories of people who are like, I'm not sure they're ready. They are so far from Jesus. But we have those moments in conversations and connections we have with people where all of a sudden you see a door open, you see something crack. It's something going on in somebody's life. And you have the opportunity to go, hey, do you want to come with me to church? Or we've got this event going on, at Christmas or at Easter, or, movie nights or different things like that. Would you want to come with me? And when you have those opportunities to know that as a church, we are thinking about that all the time, it gives you a confidence to be able to step into that world. And we believe that's the world that God desires for all of us to step into. We're trying to be able to create more and more atmospheres for people to be able to move that direction.
I love that. I think that's a great segue because I do think, Sundays are a natural invite event. Our hope is that any Sunday at all, you can invite your friend, you can invite a neighbor, you can invite a family member that we're thinking about it. We've thought of them. Mm-hmm. But we also have invite events. Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit more about what those are and why we have them.
Yeah. So I would say invite events are events that we do around here that make it even easier to invite somebody to, even more than a Sunday. It's funny that sometimes for people, a Sunday can be the easiest thing to invite somebody to because people to some level have an idea of like what church is. They're like, I don't meet a ton of people who are unchurched. In other words, have never been to a church service. People have some idea from some experience. And so they kind of know what they're getting into. And a lot of times at Blackhawk, they might leave pleasantly surprised on what they find. But invite events that we do are ones that are created like specifically to to give you the opportunity to bring somebody to something who, somebody who doesn't know Jesus, who's not interested in coming to church.
It's not going to feel churchy.
It's not. That's a good way of saying it. Yeah, it's not going to feel churchy. So like in the past, we've done movie nights, and we were doing movie nights where, we would show a movie on Friday night, and then Sunday we were preaching on that movie. And the Friday night that we did was a perfect invite event. Hey, at our church, we're showing this movie. By the way, we're going to preach on it on Sunday, but do you want to just come see the movie? And they would be family oriented, and we would have all kinds of food and things like that. And it's a perfect time to invite people. I don't know if I'd be interested to know. I think of Christmas and Easter as ones that I would say are major invite events. Would you agree?
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. That's one of we're really thinking about who's coming to those big holidays. Go ahead, Joel.
Yeah, I would say every Sunday we're thinking about making sure that it's accessible for anybody who walks in. I would say Easter and Christmas, we really build the service around the person we think might walk in, who's not going to come to church at any other time of the year. And we had to kind of make that shift. That was quite a few years ago, but we made a shift towards hey, we know our people will be there, but we also want this to be something that is geared towards the person who's only going to come a couple of times a year, but they're going to get to hear the good news of Jesus coming, whether it's, coming to dwell among us, like that's what we talk about at Christmas, or the resurrection at Easter. And they're going to hear that story, and they're going to hear that hopefully in a fresh way. And we're going to try and build things into it that also make it fresh, that maybe change the perception of what you think you can do at church. Ooh, are we allowed to do that? I didn't think you could make fun of that. I didn't know you could show a video like that. We think about kids, at Christmas especially, we've got, I think usually kindergartners up or first graders and up are in the service with us. And so a lot of the programming, we make sure that that's really going to work for kids. We want it to be a good experience. We don't want them to completely be an afterthought to the service, even though most of it gears around adults most Sundays. Yeah. We want that to feel no, we gear this towards making sure it works really well for kids. We have fun, light moments, ways to let people engage, laugh. Am I allowed to? I don't know. Church has always felt stuffy. I didn't know if I'm allowed to laugh.
You are definitely not allowed to laugh.
Yeah.
So
okay, fair enough. But all the other things.
And I think that is sometimes counterintuitive to people who are part of a church community. Because sometimes on Easter or Christmas, it's like, this is my holiday, right? Like, this is the Super Bowl of my holiday.
That's right.
I want it to be for me as a Christ follower. I wanted to hear something different, bring me deeper.
That's
but
right.
we've made a decision here at Blackhawk that, yes, like we want you to experience Jesus as a person who has followed Jesus for a long time. But you are not our primary thought when we're designing those two services in particular.
Grandma might have dragged the whole family there, everybody, all 6
and we're
grandkids.
Going to help Grandma. We're going to help Grandma out.
Yeah, and alcohol might be grumpy, but we want there to be something that like is pleasantly surprising about actually getting to go and be together and experience that service together.
Yep. I call those cigarette butt Sundays.
Okay.
So what I mean by that is those are the weeks where all of a sudden outside your church afterwards you actually find cigarette butts because people were smoking before they were coming in and heading into church. And when I look at that, I go, yes. Like
exactly what you want.
That is what we want on a Sunday like that. Our numbers always increase by all kinds of people who come through the doors because for whatever tradition, whatever it was that Grandma used to have you do around the holidays, it just feels like the right thing. I'm supposed to be in church at Christmas and Easter. Fantastic. So we want to lean into that by having the opportunity to share the message of Jesus with as many of those people as possible. So for people who are dying to go deep, when it comes to what does the Christmas message mean to me, can you take it and unpack it in a different way than I've heard the last 30 years that I've been going to church? I'm sorry that we might disappoint you, but we're trying to create an environment actually for you to instead look at who are the people who you can invite.
And to give that gift of Christmas to somebody else.
It is one of the easiest times to invite anybody to church. You can go to any neighbors, any people in your CrossFit gym, any people who you're living nearby or who you work with, or in the dorm room, in the dorm that you're living in, like they're going to be open to coming. It's low-hanging fruit.
Yep.
Okay.
And I think we think about, I mean, I don't know if this is a segue, but a lot of times when we talk about it internally, we think about people coming to events like Christmas, Easter, or like trunk or treat, or Easter egg hunts and stuff like that, like ways that we can engage
for college student
study day, like big events like that all the time. But then I think we also think about how do we equip our people to be people who are able to have those conversations in real life, and some of that can be, how do you have the conversation to invite somebody? So some of it is about listening for what's going on in their life. What are they experiencing right now? How do I go, hey, that sounds really hard. And, I can't imagine what exactly that's like, but I would love to invite you to come sit with me or, come to this thing, come be part of this. So we can talk some more about that. Like, what does that look like to build that in as people who are just always on the lookout for the people that are in our spheres, in our circles, to do that. And also then equipping our people to be people who we don't have to rely on the church to provide the gospel message. We can say, hey, can I just share with you a little bit of how Jesus changed my life? You don't have to convince people. You don't have to try and give them 6 reasons why they have to believe this. You don't have to even argue them across some kind of line. You're just sharing your personal story of how God's changed your life. They can do with that what they want to do with that. And I think sometimes we talk about how do we equip our people to be the kind of people who are on the lookout, not just for inviting to events, and we want to make sure there's plenty of things to invite people to, including every Sunday and any of the special events, but then also to be people who are able to go, can we just have coffee? That sounds really hard. I want to learn more about that. Can I pray with you? I don't know if I've ever been turned down asking somebody if I could pray for them.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
If there has been a time, I can't recall one, but even if it's hey, not right now, but yes, would you just pray for me?
Yeah.
And I've had people say things like that, not here, we're in public, or not, not in this moment, in this room, I've got a nurse coming in, but I've never been fully turned down. People are almost always saying, yes, would you pray for me? Okay. Often it's right there in that moment, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be, anything absolutely amazing or powerful. It's just you are speaking on their behalf to the living God, and they're open to that. And I've, somebody who's going through something hard has almost never turned that down, but it gives you the opportunity to go, God's changed my life in this way. And, I want to encourage you, consider this, or I want to encourage you, would you come with me? Like, I'd love to have you come and see what that's like. Or, and we think a lot about that.
Yep. Man, the idea of sharing your story. Maybe we should do a episode on that.
Stay tuned for that in 2 weeks. So good. I mean, and one other thing that we think about is also how many things are we doing as a community, as a church community? Because we want people to have friends outside. We want people to have friends who are part of the church, great community, super supportive, encouraging one another. But also we want people to have plenty of time to know their neighbors, to be able to spend some time on their front porch, talking with people who are walking by, right? Joining volleyball or ultimate frisbee leagues, right? We don't want to have something here every night of the week for people to our church to participate in, because then you're not going to be able to meet people in your neighborhoods. You're going to have nobody to invite. And so that's also something that we think about is, man, what does it look like to be the church community, but not in a way that we're insular and that we're always together, but that we are dispersed out in our community.
It'd be such a good exercise, I feel like, personally, for anyone
that's good.
to just go, where am I, building, like on that building a community? Where am I building my community? Where am I building the places or the ways that I'm growing in my relationship with Christ? And then where am I reaching, and how in balance are those things? Am I way too far on the, personal building end of things? And there can be lots of things you can talk about with
absolutely.
that. But if I'm only doing that and I never have any opportunities or ways that I can be reaching, or at least rubbing shoulders with people who disagree with me or who I might see in different parts of my life, then I feel like there's hopefully some ways that you can counteract that and go, hey, maybe I need to take a step back on some of these things. They're good things. So that I can be more available to my neighbors or to my community or to coach a team or to be part of, whatever's happening in my school or my kids' school. Or, And so I think that could be an amazing personal exercise for people just to take stock of like, how are you building in certain areas in your life and how are you growing? That's all next steps. We talk a lot about next steps, and that's all that kind of stuff where you're growing, you're in community, you're doing courses, you are, living out, your faith in different ways. But then also reaching and who are the people in your life that you get a chance to rub shoulders with?
Maybe you don't need to be in 4 community groups,
Don't.
So in order to create a little space to be able to do life with some different people.
That's right.
That's
right.
I need to drop 3 community groups
you
now.
You do. You're just doing too much.
Seriously, for the love.
That is true.
It's good.
The jars of clay one, you can let go now. It's okay.
I'm tired of making.
You don't have to do that one anymore.
Seriously,
There's
we'll
a
let
remnant.
that one go.
There's a remnant.
Yeah.
It's also only you now, which is weird. But I mean, it's weird you call it a group. But fine.
That's right.
Oh, you guys, so good. This has been really good. Any last kind of words encouragement before we jump off?
I think that, for us at Blackhawk, we just see invite culture as something that really matters, because we believe that for any of us who are striving to follow Jesus, that God is going to put people in our life that he desires to come to the place of knowing him, and he wants to use us in that process. So it gives us the opportunity to like in a tangible way move towards that.
And when we do that, it like really ignites our faith.
Oh, I am telling you.
I think sometimes we underestimate what that will do for our faith.
Not for them,
but
for us.
For us.
Yes.
When you see God move in people's lives in that way, it's like, wow, God, you're incredible.
You are sitting on the front row.
It's insane sometimes.
In their lives, getting to see what it is that God's doing. I can't believe
the transformation that God's doing. Only God can transform in that way.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, when I think about all this, I think about who are the people that you are praying for, right now? Like, who are the people that, when you think about like who I want to see, come to know the saving grace of Jesus, like, do you have 3 of those people that are top of mind all the time, where you can simply go, man, God, I'm praying for so-and-so. Would you just connect with her, and could you use me? I don't know what the opportunity is going to look like. Just like somebody sitting next to you in a church service, if you're praying that way in your everyday life, you start to see everyday life that way too. You see opportunities where it's like, oh, that was interesting. She just texted me that. I'm going to offer maybe a conversation or a coffee or something to see if this is something that's happening for her. And God, I don't have the right words. I don't know all the things to say, but would you use me in that conversation with this person to draw them to yourself?
Yeah.
And when we're praying like that, it changes our perspective. It changes some of that stuff that Charles and others have talked about of like, am I about the mission that God has, in this world? Am I about partnering with him? Those are the ways it reorients like, oh, it's not my life. It's not about my life. It's about what's he doing and how do I see it in those around me?
Matt, I remember, I think it was at the beginning of this academic year, I think you challenged our staff. I might be getting this wrong, but
was it a good challenge?
It was a good challenge, yeah.
Then it was definitely me.
You said it was along the lines of what you said, Joel. What if God, like everybody that you're praying for to know Jesus, what if God snapped his fingers and said, yes, who in your life would come to know Jesus? Or are you even praying at all?
Exactly.
Is there anybody that you
would eternity look any different? Would eternity
look different? Are you petitioning on behalf of people? And that was like a big challenge. Like that was like, oh, wow. That was a good reminder to me and a challenge to me and something that I've really been kind of took with me this year.
Absolutely.
So it's really good.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, you guys. Well, thanks again for being on the podcast.
Thanks again for the invite.
I guess I'll invite you again in the future. You guys both pass.
You can wait another 24 years or whatever if you need. That's fine.
Totally. Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone, for listening in, and we'll see you next week as we talk about Alpha.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Next Steps. Don't forget to check out the show notes for a list of resources if you'd like to keep the conversation going. If you want to learn more about how to get connected at Blackhawk or simply find tools to help you grow, check out blackhawk.church/hub. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend and subscribe so you won't miss future episodes. Until next time, let's keep following Jesus together.